So now we are officially on board. We're officially getting started. And we would like to welcome everybody tonight. We got a smaller crowd than we had last week, but we still have guests from other places. We have people who are not normally with us, and we're very happy you're here with us tonight. I don't know where my screen went to, but we'll find it in a moment. But we're glad you're here, and we're hoping. Oh, well, I'm having lots of fun with my screen. We're hoping that you're having fun wherever you are, because some of you are in Toronto, some of you are in other places in Canada, some of you are halfway around the world from where we are. That's all right. That's good. That's a benefit of Zoom. And we're able to communicate, which was really, really important that now that we can communicate. We do know that here locally in St. Petersburg, for some of you who are not here, our signal strength has been fluctuating. For myself, for Rami, a few other people, the signal seems to go up and down. So tonight, if we fade out, we'll be back in just a moment, probably 60 seconds, we'll be back, but that may happen. The signal strength is not what we wish it would be. That's just the way we have to deal with it. There's no other choice. Um, Even like what Nancy was talking about tonight, she's getting emails sent to her and she's not getting them. You have to deal with it. You have to come up and figure out how to work around the system. So if we do drop out, just hang in there. We'll be right back online again if we do drop out. But I just want to let you know ahead of time. This evening, we're going to have our normal standard meeting like we've been having, and we're going to start off with the four-way test here in just a moment. I'm going to make some opening comments as the president, and then Randall's going to give us a little bit of information as the secretary, and then I'm going to give my presentation that I'm giving tonight. I was a last minute fill. We had some people that we were hoping would be able to fill in tonight on the 20th as a speaker. It didn't happen, but we do have people lined up for the next 3 weeks. So we do have a good schedule coming up. So I went ahead and filled in for this evening. So I'll be talking about writing a book. A lot of people ask me about writing a book, and so I'm going to put out some information. For our members, and I know we got several on the screen tonight, for our members, something that we are going to start doing as a club. Each month, we're going to ask one member to give us a 15-minute presentation on their profession, what they do, just so that we know all of our members well. Now, this is something that a lot of clubs around the world make mandatory. When you're a new member and you join after you've been in for a month or two, they ask you to make a presentation to the whole club about what your profession is, what's your occupation, what are you doing for a living. It's a way to get to know each other better so that we understand who each other are. And we also can call on people if we want to. I know a club, a a Rotary club over in Singapore, and there's two dentists in there, and those dentists get tons of calls from their members, and they give them advice. It's not necessarily they're getting service, but they're getting advice. So if you know what people's occupations are and you have a minor problem that you want to have a question about, at least you have someone to call, someone to talk to, someone to get some advice from. And they're a fellow Rotarian, so maybe they'll understand your position. Okay, you screen share with me, I think, Randall, already. Yes, you did. Very good. Now I'm going to go to my favorite slide that I have. And I'm going to leave it in this format right here. I'm going to ask everybody to please turn on your microphone with me. Please turn on your microphone. Okay, I'm going to read a four-way test, and after I read each one, I would like everybody to repeat it after I do. The four-way test of things that we think, say, and do. And here are the four. Is it the truth?
Is it the
Is
truth?
it the truth?
Is it the
Is it
truth?
the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is
Is
it
it
Is
fair
it
to
fair
all
to all
concerned?
concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it
Will
build
Will it build
goodwill and
goodwill
better
and better
friendship?
friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be
Will it be
beneficial
beneficial to all concerned?
concerned?
Very good. Thank you all very much. I appreciate that. I'll give you my presidential. I'm at the closing slide on my background. My backgrounds are a little messed up tonight. We've had some influx of information come from a few other clubs, and they're asking us about joining not as a club, but joining as individuals with the ICC. And there are many people out there who are already working on that. And they think that because our club and the Moscow International Club are English-speaking Russian clubs in two of the key cities, that we may be able to help them with some of the things they want to accomplish through the ICC. And the ICC is not just Russian in America, but Russian in Germany, Russian in Canada, Russian in Israel, many different connections. So they're contacting us and asking questions. I found out, and I was very surprised, that last week when I said we were going to work with the ICC because they had offered donations for our charity fund that the charity project that we have, the words were misunderstood. And I had two different people in the United States in the international group of ICC folks who contacted me and said, Michael, did you mean what you said last week? I said, well, I think so. I didn't think I lied. And they said, well, this is what we understood. They thought that I said our club was going to get directly involved with the ICC activities. I didn't say that. I said we were going to work with them on our project that we have. So we had to clarify that. So there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. We're willing to help where we can, but we are a little bitty club, 9 people. And out of the 9 folks, we only have about 3 folks, three-fourths of the people who are actually involved doing things. So we're very small. We do have a project. We are growing. We're going to be growing in numbers here shortly, not big numbers, but little numbers. So for us to take on a big function within ICC would be almost impossible. And for us to take on a global grant, which has been suggested to us, would be almost impossible because we have nobody here who is certified by the regulations in order to do a global grant. So several people have thought just because we were able to draw in 30 or 40 international people, because we were able to provide international speakers of high caliber, that we were ready to go out and do a whole lot more. We just want folks to know we're doing what we can, but we can't do everything. So we're a very small group. And you, the other people who are not our members, are making up our support staff. You folks give us ideas, you give us support, you give us help, and we appreciate that. So thank you for your support. But please don't overestimate what 9 folks can do. I mean, I know we can do a lot, but still be careful because some folks are asking us to go way over out of bounds. So we just have to be careful. Okay, Mr. Randall, I'd like to turn it over to you to see what the Secretary's comments you had this evening.
Thank you very much, President Michael. I hope that my connection will last while I am sharing this. So let's go full screen here. So Secretary's notes for today, 20th of January, 2021. Of course, we start with a subtle, actually a not so subtle reminder that President Michael and our Treasurer Andreas would like us to pay the dues because we have to pay Rotary International for all of our members of record now. Second interesting point, we have been invited through the district to join an activity of our neighboring district, which is Ukraine and Belarus. And it kind of shocked me that this event's going to be held in English language. It's on the 30th of January, and it's an international vocational forum. And Michael mentioned tonight about what we typically call classification talks. Something very unique about Rotary compared with other service clubs is that every Rotarian represents a vocation or profession. So I think that is what the focus of this event is going to be. It's a district event, so all of the clubs in Belarus, Ukraine will be participating, but they've opened it up to the members of D2223. Our district, 90% of our Rotarians don't speak English. So for our club, this may be an interesting opportunity to join something. I'm sure you don't have to join all day long. It's quite a long event, but if we have a bit of a presence there, it could be interesting for us to build our relationships with neighbors. Second thing I want to share with you, the Rotaractors in D2223 have launched on the 9th of January a project called I Am Skiing to End Polio. They're collaborating with other Rotaractors around the world. I don't have any more information than this at the moment, but if anyone is interested in sponsoring any Rotaractors who are raising money to end polio, please let me know, and then I will dig for some more information. And feel free to ask questions if you want while I'm talking about this. Number 3, I just want to share another slide again, that we need all of your help. So we need to invite our friends who are prospective Rotarians to join our meetings. We are getting some interesting speakers, even though we're probably the tiniest club on the planet. We just got the past president of Rotary International to join us, so that's a good thing. So being tiny, maybe it's an advantage to be tiny, but we don't always want to be tiny. We want to increase our membership, and according to Rotary's guidelines, we should have at least 20 members. So we have room to grow, and we need to grow. Secondly, if you know anyone who might be interested in just coming to our meetings to listen to our speakers, please tell me, and will happily add them to our mailing list. And point number 3, we need all sorts of suggestions for interesting speakers. Gabriella, I'll share some information in a second, that Gabriella proposed someone who I think is going to be a fascinating speaker 2 weeks from now. He'll be speaking, he's a German fellow, so his English may not be so strong. We might need some support from our German-speaking members to make sure that any questions that are asked are understood, but it will be a fascinating subject. So thank you very much to PP Gabriella for introducing us. Next week, we have a man, Paul Goncharov, who I know but have not met. He's an American by birth, but has lived and worked in Russia since the early days of its opening up. And he writes on all sorts of different topics and speaks on all sorts of different topics, but he's very much involved in board management as a profession. He's a lawyer by profession. So he will join us next week. I don't think he's ever joined a Rotary Club before, so we must make a good impression. Following him, we have a fellow Dmitry Orlov, who came to one of our meetings back in the spring when Michael was giving a presentation, I think, about leadership. And Dmitry is also an author. He's published several books. He was born in the Soviet Union, moved to the US at a young age, lived there for a very long time, and then a couple of years ago moved back to Saint Petersburg, where he now lives. And he's just an interesting character. I'm not exactly sure what his topic is going to be. He hasn't nailed it down too much, but he's really, he follows a lot of trends and does a lot of economic analysis. So he will have something interesting to say for sure. And finally, Gabriella's guest is Reinhard Kuhn, who is 71 years young and has been deeply involved in amateur radio, but also amateur radio connected with space. And he's just got this really funky radio antenna in his backyard. He's going to talk to us about a project that he was involved with I think it's the University in Harbin, to work with the Chinese on their space missions. And he's going to speak about the Chinese mission to the moon, which is something that Xi Jinping is very keen on pushing forward with. So that could be very interesting. That's all I have to say. If anybody has any questions for the secretary, please shoot.
Shoot, bang, 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 you did.
Don't shoot.
Oh, okay, we won't shoot. We won't do that.
I can't use that. I can't use that with you. It's kind of
And
dangerous.
you have to be careful with the English language. I listened for words, you said shoot, so I was gonna shoot, so it's okay. Thank you very much, Randall, appreciate that.
I see a hand. I see a
also
hand.
appreciate the help we're getting from our,
There's a hand. I see that
you see a hand?
Antonina has a hand up. It looks like the hand of God, I think,
Where's that?
but because there's the light behind her.
Okay, yeah, all right, I'm sorry. Yes.
And she got a
Yes,
halo.
Antonina, go ahead.
I'm interested in information regarding Ukrainian-Belarusian Forum. I'm interested in information
Yes.
regarding skiing, Rotary Act, kilometer for polio.
Oh, okay, that's
And
two things. Okay.
also, okay, please keep me updated for the next meetings. Okay, thank you.
You will be updated for the meetings, and I will send you an email after this with the details about the forum. And I will check for details about the end polio effort. that we're
Is
making.
this recording available for ICC Canada Russia? Because if you will send me
So-
recording, I will share it with International Committee Canada Russia
A recording of what?
of our meeting today.
Yes. Oh, you want, okay. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Michael, are we
Yeah,
going, we're going to
we-
record this meeting, yeah?
Yeah, we're gonna record it.
Yep.
Right now, we're
Yep.
recording,
Sure.
1 second, Gabrielle, just a second.
Yeah,
We're recording all of our recording all of our meetings, and we are making them available online. So if you follow the post that Randall puts out, you can see where the address is, but they're all recorded. Yes, Gabriella?
Please,
Um,
Michael, if I can just add one more thing. When I share the link to the recording of the meeting, I heartily welcome everybody to subscribe to that channel because it's the club's YouTube channel, so we can try and gain some more followers. So
Yeah.
please share any of our social links that we have.
Thank you. I just have the same question
Over.
as Antonina. I'm interested as well in participating in the Belarus-Ukrainian Rotary meeting. So can you send around the link how we can join them, perhaps to all of us?
Yes, I will send that. I'll put a link in the chat in a moment, and then I'll send an email after this to all of us.
Okay, anything else?
Michael?
Anything else? Back to me, huh? Well, okay, back to me. Randall, are you going to introduce me, or because I don't want to introduce myself?
Is Walter alive? If not Walter,
Well,
then
let
me.
Walter alive. Walter's here. Let Walter get involved. Walter, you want to introduce me as a speaker? No?
Three,
Don't want to?
2,
Aw,
1.
shame on you. Shame on you. You're
Okay,
Rotarian.
ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a world-renowned Rotarian Toastmaster speaker, a man on a mission. This man has been on this mission for more years than me. I know that for a fact. A few years less than Wilf Wilkinson. But he's on a mission to change the world one speech at a time. He is a professional speaker by not by education, but by profession. He spent 28 years serving, 26 years serving in the the United States Air Force. That means he has a bit of a problem with directions, unlike the Navy folks. But he has been all around the world professionally, and in his post-Air Force career as a professional speaker on leadership, he has traveled to many countries in Asia and Europe and Asia. And he is here with us today wearing 2 hats. So his big hat, of course, is his hat as the president of our club, but his almost as big hat is as our most beloved published author. So in our punchy club that punches above its weight, we have a published author who has published 5 books, 6 books, Michael, 5 or 6 books, at least as many books as I have in my hand. So more than one hand of books. And what's amazing is that he has done this almost entirely by himself. So every step of the way, he has led himself. And he's going to explain to us how he has managed to take the idea of a book through all of the stages from conception to actually putting it into physical print and putting it into people's hands. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome back to the stage our president of Saint Petersburg International Rotary, president of Saint Petersburg International Rotary Club, Michael Vader. Round of applause, round of applause, round of applause.
I got you, Randall. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of interesting when you come to our club. that half the people in our club are Rotarians and Toastmasters. So if you hear us with a faux pas saying something about Toastmasters where the word Rotary should be in there, please don't be surprised. We all have been doing it a little bit, so we got to do a better job, but myself included, I often get the two mixed up. It's not so bad, you should imagine. With Walter and Randall, I call Walter Randall and Randall Walter. So I get things mixed up frequently this way. Not because of age, just because sometimes I just don't think about those things ahead of time. Thank you for inviting me tonight. And tonight I'm going to be talking about something that not millions, but hundreds of millions of people want to do. I'm going to give you some statistics and you're going to be shocked by those numbers and find out what percentage actually do finally write a book. And it's a very, very small amount. I'm also going to talk about what it takes personally that you're going to have to develop as a habit if you're going to write a book. And there are some things that are necessary no matter who you are or what subject you're writing. And what I'm talking about does not only apply to technical books. It can apply to a novel. It can apply to a book of poems. It can apply to any type of book you want to write. It doesn't have to be technical. Most of mine are technical. I've only written one book that is not technical, and it's a long story book. But I think that you'll see that this can be applied to any book at all. And if you're an author who has started, I will give you some tips as to how to get going again and how maybe to get through part of this because it's going to be difficult. And I will end up this evening talking about publishing because publishing is one of those mystical things that folks just do not understand. And they usually go out and spend big, big bucks in order to make it happen. So I'll be talking about those items. I'm going to take the screen from Randall for a moment here and put up a screen sharing. I can find my square here. Where am I at, Randall? Do we know where you're at? Michael doesn't know where he's at. That's normal. So, let me get away from here. All right. We don't need my ugly face on there. Okay. Information. 81% of Americans, and this is as of this is not 19, this is as of 2019, this information was updated. 81% of the Americans say, we want to write a book. We want to write a book. Now that's approximately 200 million people. According to the Independent Book Publishers Association, Americans want to write books. And it's not only Americans, it's people around the world. But the data I have is from the American base. So there's an awful lot of people who want to write books. It's estimated only 3,000 out of 1 million will start and finish the book. Only 3,000 out of 1 million. That means 0.3%, not even 1%, 0.3%. And out of those 0.3%, 71% will never publish their book. There are literally hundreds of millions of homes around the world that have a book that was written but never published. These homes have an author who really worked hard, tried to do everything right. At the end, couldn't figure out what he wanted to do with it, couldn't figure out how to get it published, and he never got it out there. Very, very small number. So, for you to remember, if you want to be a publisher, be an author, if you start, finish, and publish your book, now you're going to be in the 0.009% of people in the world. 0.09% start, finish, and publish their book. So not very many. Somebody else who wants to get in, oh, somebody admitted them. That's good. Thank you. And people take this screen and they say, well, I want to write something, but what do I write? Where do I get my ideas from? Where do I get my information from? How do I start? We're going to go through those steps for you tonight. Before you start writing, my recommendation for you, if you're going to think about writing a book, you write a book that you want to read. Now, I don't have my whole library here like I have in America. In America, I got over 1,200 books, and 3/4 of them are on leadership because I love to read about leadership from other authors to get ideas and find out how they think. If you're into, programming, you're into gardening, you're into landscaping, you're into building furniture, whatever you love, think about writing a book about something that you love, because that's what it's going to take. You're going to see that word love again in my second to last slide tonight. You have to love to do this, otherwise it will not happen. It's an awful, awful lot of work. So I recommend you find something, what book do you read? For any of you, for Randall or Gabriella or Anthony, anybody, what, you go to the bookstore, which section do you go to first? Do you go to the business section? Do you go to the love story section? Do you go to the gardening section? Where do you go to start looking for a book in a library? So that's where I would start if I was you. You need to think about writing about your experiences. Now, this is important because a lot of folks miss this. And this also applies to us as speakers. Writing a book and speaking have some similarities. If you want to be a better speaker, tell your own story, things that you know in your head and in your heart. They happened, you experienced them, you can talk about them. That's what you should talk about. Same way writing a book. If you're going to write a book, talk about something that you love. Now, for me, I have two passions: lean technology, which is a Toyota production system, and leadership. And most of my books combine those two together, most of them, not all. But those are two subjects that I found I really liked. I learned about liking leadership when I was in the military, so I went in that direction. Don't go in a direction that you know nothing about. Don't try and become an expert in a subject that you don't know. If you do that, it's going to make your writing so much tougher. You want to make it easier, not harder. And you're going to do yourself a big favor if you pick something that you want to read, something that you like to read, something you have experience. Now, you take an example. I'm going to pick on the guy who introduced me tonight, Randall. You know, he's got a family. He lived over in Shanghai for a number of years, involved in lots of different places. He's got stories about North Korea, South Korea, Shanghai, China, and other countries that he was involved in. He could take all those and roll them into some sort of book because he has that experience. Now he has picked up and he has moved to Russia. Rami, a young man we have here in our group, a new member in our Rotary group, he has picked up and left UAE and moved to Russia. Now he's new here within less than 2 years, but maybe 4 or 5 years from now, he could write a book about the experience of leaving the UAE and moving here. And many of you have lived in different countries, parts of the world. You could write about those. So think about what you want to write about. I mean, you got to give some thought before you ever dive in. You don't want to dive in without giving this some thought ahead of time. Oops. Why is my screen not working? Okay. Research. You see those piles of paper? That's one book for me. Usually I generate somewhere between 200 and 300 pages of information before I start a book. And I'm talking full A4 size. I'm not talking little bitty notes. Anywhere from 100. At 100, I probably don't know if I've ever done that few, but usually it's in the vicinity of 300 pages and all kinds of notes from all kinds of different things. And I'll be talking about that. Research. Let's say, and I know most of you have done this, you've read a mystery book, maybe about a modern day detective or something trying to solve a crime. You know how much research goes into that? An awful lot. If this person was in New York, went to a hotel, had lunch, got in a car, went somewhere, solved a crime, you have to have data about all of those. Which hotel, on what street, at what time, what did he have for lunch, who did he talk to, which kind of car did they get in, how was the interior, what did it feel like driving to where he was going, what did he find when he got there? You have to do all this research. And if you want to make it a good book, you got to use today's current data. You got to have the right street names, the right hotel names, and all this stuff. You're going to have to get that data if you want to write maybe a mystery novel or something of that nature. If it's a technical book, and that's what you want to write about, something that's very technical, you're going to need old data, the way it might have been before the change, new technology came out, and you're going to need new data. So you're going to need to get into the university archives, You're going to need to get into the inventors page where they have inventors of all kinds of things. You're going to need to do an awful lot of research before you ever start writing a book. You haven't put paper to pen, you haven't put your finger on a computer keypad. You're just getting started building your support mechanism for your book. You'll need at least 5 times as much. If I'm going to write a book that's about 200 pages long, I'm going to need about 1,000 pages of material. Now, the first time I wrote my first book, that's probably true. And then I found a better way of taking notes, and I got it down to 500. Now I have it down to about 300 pages of notes, A4 size. I mean, A4 size, yes. So we're talking about a lot of information, but you're going to need at minimum 5 times as much as what you're going to put in your book. If you don't have that, you won't have enough. You're going to run out. We don't want you to run out. Another thing, before you actually physically start writing, where are you going to do your writing? Where are you going to do your writing at? Do you know? I'm not sure you know where you're going to do the writing at. You know, in your house, do you have a room or a place that's quiet, where you're going to be undisturbed, where nobody's going to come bother you? Yeah, Randall's shaking his head no. Most of us, the answer is no. I'm fortunate, I do. And I've been doing an awful lot of writing on the times that I'm isolated. Now, I travel around the world, or have been for the last 18 years, working 16 different countries. That's an awful lot of airtime. I find that when I'm in the airplane traveling 6 hours or 10 hours going somewhere, put on my headphones, keep my head down, get out my laptop, and I start working. Nobody's going to bother me. And then I take a break when it's time to eat, keep on going again. Try to have somewhere in your home to write. You know, we all know about Harry Potter and J.L. Rowling's. When she wrote, she had a favorite cafe. And in that cafe, there was a corner table. And the people there that worked there knew she liked that corner table. And almost every day she was coming in, sitting there and writing her book. And people weren't disturbing her. Somebody might come and ask her if she wants a cup of coffee, but then leave her alone for a period of time. She was undisturbed. You will need to find an undisturbed place. The second thing is, if you know where you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, what's the best time of day in your place? There are many writers who have found that between midnight and 3 a.m. is the best time to write for them, because the rest of the family's sleeping. Nobody's awake. Nobody can disturb them. Nobody can bother them. And they found that this is a very good time to write. Now, some women who have written novels have found that the children are off to school, the husband's off to work, I'm at home by myself, I got my home chores done, I got basically 2, 3, 4 hours today that I'm basically by myself. This is a good time to sit down and write. Nobody disturbing me. So you need to find where and when you're going to write. That's a very, very important part of getting started. If you don't have that, it's going to be tough on you. And we don't want to make this tough. We want to make this easy. All right. After you started writing, you need to know that when you write a title, it will change. So do not worry about the title. All my titles have changed from the beginning of the book until the end of the book. I've never written a book that had the same title at the end that I had at the beginning. They all have changed. They will develop during the time that you're writing. You'll come up with some better ones. But you need a title to get started. Think in your mind, what are you going to call it? Just give it a name, whatever it's going to be. When you're going to start setting up chapters in your book, you should shoot for 7, 11, or 21 chapters. Now, I know it sounds kind of crazy having specific numbers, but many authors, many of you know who Brian Tracy is and who John Maxwell are. Both of them are very famous leadership authors. Brian Tracy has more than 100 books. Both of them authors recommend 7, 11, or 21 chapters. That's a normal way for a good book. Either you break them up into several large chapters or many very small chapters who are very, very easy to read. Because remember now, small chapters are great because in today's society, we're all working. We're going to a bus, to a car, to a job. We don't have much time, but we got little time. We can open the book and go through a small chapter while in one reading and then put it down and go to the next chapter. We don't have to try and keep it going. If it's something that you're going to be sitting down and reading for I don't know, 4 hours at a time, then you probably want a book with bigger chapters, okay? You need to develop your storyline, and I use a format that I learned when I was teaching in the university. I had students that needed to write term papers, and I need to give them a format. How can you write a term paper? Well, I taught them the tree method. It works, and I'll show it to you in a moment, but this is what I recommend. And I also have found out that many other people who are teaching people how to write books, and that's not my job, I don't do that, but I found them, by doing a little bit of research, that they like the tree method also. What does the tree method look like? Well, you got this tree, and all trees have roots. Well, how many roots does it have? We don't know. We don't know how many roots it has, but there's a lot of roots underneath a tree. So if we take this and put it into change the location of this tree, and I'm gonna put the tree on the side, and I'm gonna put everything else to the right of it, your idea or your title is your first item. You've written that down. Now, you should start thinking about, how can I open this book? In other words, what is the opening paragraph? What's the opening chapter? This is going to be probably your introduction in the book. You're going to introduce yourself and what the subject's going to be to your people. So you need to have an opening. Then you got the body. That's the main filler. This is the largest part of your book. Now, I know in my tree model that you have here, they're all equal, but usually it's not. In reality, it's not equal. Usually the part in the red square is usually much larger than the first one above it or the one after it. So you got the body, and then you're going to have to close. If it's a novel, if it's a mystery story, you're going to have a climax. You're going to have a finish, a punchline. If it's a technical book and you want people to remember the technical book, you got to close with something powerful that's going to call them back to the book again. You want them to come back and read it again, or lead them in a direction that they can go take action, call for action. Several of my books that I wrote, the last chapter is all about taking action. Once you've got the opening, body, and closure, you can break each one of those into 3 parts. Maybe for the opening, you write a plot. This is a mystery about a certain guy in a certain city, and he has a certain girlfriend, and there's a certain murder, and now everybody's involved running around. You're going to need an awful lot of support research to make that happen. You're going to have to talk about where they live, what they drank, what they ate, what time it was, what clothes they were wearing, what words did they say, all that. And it's best to have not only a plot, but also a subplot. In the closure at the bottom, you need to have a solution to your book. It should have a logical going and then close. And when it gets to the closure, it should be a logical closing. If it's a mystery, maybe it's going to be a climax nobody has suspected. That's okay. But if it's a technical manual or something factual, nonfiction, you want to make sure that you come up with some sort of recommendation at the end. And one of the places that many people make a huge mistake is when they get to the end, they don't know how to transition to close it. They leave out the transition between all this information they gave you, and then they say, thank you, and you can contact me by. Well, you got to have a transition in there. You got to have something to tell people what to do. You want people to recommend this book to somebody. The ending is very important. You want them to come back to your book. The ending is very important. These are 2 areas that don't get enough work. The opening at the beginning and the closure at the end. Make sure you spend time on those. You're going to write your book probably anywhere from 5 to 10 times before you're going to be satisfied with it. The first time you go through, just get an opening, a body, and a closure, and then go back and work on your opening, make it more powerful. Go back and work on your closure and make it more powerful. The body, probably you will find you have got an awful lot of text in. Now, when I said earlier 21 chapters, you probably laughed a little bit or smiled trying to figure out how the heck am I going to come up with 21 chapters? Well, you can see here, I give a description of 18 chapters. So if you got a plot, break it into 2 chapters. You got a support, break it into 2 chapters. Got subplot, break it into 2 chapters. You already got 6 just with the opening. These numbers will vary. You will have a few more than these. You may have a few less than these, but I use this format to get started. The latest book I just finished here recently had 17 chapters. That's just what I decided to finish on. I got to 17 and I said, I'm done. I closed with 16 and I put 17 in to finish and round off the book. So this is a format that you can use. Doesn't matter what if you're a speaker. Now I'm going to change the subject just for momentarily here, just for my Toastmaster friends that are in the crowd here. If you're a speaker, you start on the left on your screen there, on the left-hand side with the idea, what is your subject today? And then you know in Toastmasters, you have to have an opening, you have to have the body of your speech, and you have to have a strong closure. It's not any different. So now you're asking, what should I put in the opening? I don't know. I'm not sure. Here's three things. What's it going to be? What is it about? What support material or factual data do you have to support your speech? And is there a subplot? Then you got the body of your presentation, and then you got your closure. You can use the same format on using a speech, right? And if you got 18 chapters in your speech, you don't have to have much more. That's going to take you the full length of your speaking time. But this is a very, very useful model to use. Now, let's say you are started. I'm going to show these first two, and then I'm going to go back to screen and talk about them. Patience and discipline, two things that are absolutely needed. Why do you need patience? Walter, why do you think you need patience? If you're going to write a book, Walter, why do you need patience? Unmute yourself, please. No? Randall got everybody muted? Don't know.
If people can unmute, there's nothing stopping them.
Okay. You can unmute now, Walter.
Yeah, now I got you.
Why do you need patience if you're going to write a book?
Because it's a long way to go, and it's always longer than you expect it to be.
You're right. You're not going to sit down and write a book in a week. Now, maybe if you've been writing 100 books, you might sit down and write one in 4 weeks. But even Brian Tracy, who has written over 100 books, he says usually one a month is killing him. I mean, that's a bunch in one a month. And he doesn't even do that every month. It's tough. You're going to have some patience. And another reason you will get interrupted, Walter, just like everybody will. You will have children coming in interrupting you. You'll have people coming in interrupting you. You'll have this stupid cell phone ringing interrupting you. You're going to have patience and understand that you're not going to get everything done very, very quickly. Okay. Gabriella, the second thing I put up there was discipline. Why do you need to have discipline to write a book?
Because it's very hard to sit down to write a book. I'm about to write, and there are so many very urgent things you have to do. So you must put them away and to concentrate on writing your book. And this is not this easy.
You're absolutely right. And I'll give you an example of myself. I normally do most of my online work that I have to send messages out usually in the morning. I eat lunch somewhere around 1. Around 2 o'clock, I finish. And somewhere around 2:30, I get myself a fresh cup of tea, come down to my office, sit in my office at my desk, and stay there for usually 2 to 3 hours each day. Uninterrupted, nobody bothering me, nobody else in the house, just me, and it's my schedule. When I was, years ago, when I started writing, I had 2 teenagers at home, plus my wife and a dog, and lots of things going on at home. I used to find best for myself between 10 and 12 at night. I would actually, after dinner, lay down and take a little nap, get a little snooze after dinner. Then I'd get up, and at 10 o'clock, I'd sit down behind my computer and for about 2 hours, concentrate on writing or concentrate on getting research, concentrate on what it is I'm going to do to make this book happen. You're going to have discipline. Now, numbers of days of the week. You want to do it 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 1 day a week. 1 day a week is going to take you a lifetime. So I recommend at least 2 or 3 days a week and at least 2 or 3 hours each time. If you can give 6 to 8 hours in a week to a book, you can get it done in probably 4 to 5 months. But it's going to take that kind of discipline. If you can give 6 to 8 hours a week, take you maybe 4 or 5 months, depends on the book, the size, and depends on lots of things. But that's what I find out that works. Now for me, because I'm already in book number 7 started and I got book number 8 started, 2 books at one time, I am doing it a little bit quicker, but it does still take discipline. If you're not going to have that discipline, don't try to write. Find another hobby. Go snow skiing, drive race cars, fly air balloons. I don't care what you want to do, but don't try and be an author if you're not going to have discipline to sit down and write. It's absolutely necessary. I took an extra writing course just to improve my writing about a year ago with Brian Tracy. And I had to give him send to California weekly feedback on how many pages I wrote each week, just so that he could monitor my speed and see what I was doing. And he made some recommendations. I wasn't a first-time writer, so I was a little bit disciplined. Not a lot, but a little bit. But you need to have some discipline. If not that, without it, it's not going to work, folks. I'm sorry, that's just the way book writing is. You have to have some discipline. Also, you're going to need to have, if I can get my screen to work here, regular scheduled writing time. Pick a time of day, maybe noon to 4, maybe 10 to 12 at night, maybe midnight to 3, whatever time it's going to be. Pick a regular time and make sure you stick with it. And then make sure you take breaks. If you're going to sit down in your chair and type for 3 hours, you're not going to be very productive after starting the second hour. Take a break. Now, for me, I like to drink coffee and tea. I drink coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon. So it depends on which time of day I'm writing. But after about an hour, I'm up out of my chair. I got a long walk down the hallway to get to the kitchen. I go down there and turn on the kettle. I stay standing or walk around the house while the kettle's brewing. When it's done, I pour myself my cup of coffee or tea. I got a long walk back down to my office. I sit back down. Take that break. Because if you're sitting trying to write uninterrupted for 3 hours, you're going to make an awful lot of mistakes. Grammar mistakes, typing mistakes, many, many different things you're going to make if you try to go that long. Because this is not something that you've been doing on a regular basis. This is something relatively new to you, unless you already are an author for several books. If you're an author for several books, then it's not so new. But if you're a new author or you got one started and you got stuck, it could be because, and I know I have a lot of friends who are in this same circumstance, and I know Victor, he mentioned that he was there, who have started books. And when I ask them, hey, how are the books going? Oh, Michael, I got no time. I'm so busy. I'm going to do it in the future. That's the problem. It probably will never get done. It'll probably never get done. You're in the large majority of those numbers I showed you at the beginning of people who do not finish it because they don't have the patience, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the regular schedule, and they don't take breaks. They get burned out. So I recommend that you take that break. You go get that cup of coffee. Go get that cold glass of water. Summertime, go get a glass of lemonade. Like myself here, I live on the 4th floor with no elevator. Sometimes I feel, I'm a little tired. If I'm tired, you know what I do? I walk down the 108 stairs and I walk back up the 108 stairs. You're going to say, but Michael, that's going to make you more tired. No. Now the blood is flowing. Now the blood is moving. Now I sit back down and I can start writing again. So you have to find ways and think about them. How are you going to manage your situation for writing? The situation you put yourself in is absolutely paramount to the success of your writing a book. You got to know what to do with it. So let's say you started writing. Well, as you can see here on the side, I've got 6 books. Actually, there's a 7th one. I put mine in multiple languages, usually English and Russian. I write in English first. If you're going to get a book translated into any language, have a very, very reputable and reliable translator who can translate it correctly, who knows your subject, knows your topic. When I write about lean technology, my translator, my interpreter has 14 years of working with me on lean technology in factories in a few different countries. He knows the topic. He doesn't write books. He doesn't teach. He translates, but he knows the material well. So if you're going to write about fiction, and you're going to have somebody translate it, get somebody who already reads fiction in their own language. Don't try a technical guy to write fiction in a foreign language for you. That's not going to work. If you're going to get things translated, make sure you get the right people. And that's difficult to find. I was very lucky. I found them through work first and then writing books second. The small book you see on top, the white book on top, that one's been in 8 different languages. Now, this is the 3rd generation of that same little book, but it's been in 8 different generations, 8 different languages around the world. 2 languages in India, Portuguese for Brazil, Spanish for Mexico, Russian, English, Japanese. been around a lot. So all those things take effort. Now I'll talk about them when I talk about publishing here in a few minutes, but you can get your book published in other places, but it's going to take work, okay? Publishing, whew, it is a nightmare, absolutely a nightmare. I'm just going to give you a very short story that I read, and matter of fact, I read it 3 different places, so I think it's correct. Again, use the example of J.R. Rowling in the Harry Potter book. She wrote the book, the first book, she wrote it. She sent it to a publisher, and then another, and then another, and then another. 12 publishers she sent her book to, 12. None of them wanted to publish it, none. And it just happened to be that at one of the publishers, the manager or the director of the organization had a habit. He would go down the hallway to the publishing room, and whatever manuscript, now these are not published books, whatever manuscript was on the top of the pile, he would grab that one and take it home for the weekend because he loved to read. Now, this is the president or director of a publishing company, so he's very much into books. He loves books. So he grabs the top one, takes it home and reads it over the weekend. Just happened to be, by luck, by coincidence, however you want to describe it, her book was on top of the pile. He picked it up, he took it home, he read it over the weekend, and when he come back, the rest is history. If her book had been number 2 on the pile, we probably never would have heard about Harry Potter, never. So many books go to publishers and they get rejected. I have had several publishers reject my books after I finished them and sent it to them and wanted their evaluation, I wanted their feedback, I wanted their support in large publishing. Wouldn't work. So what did I decide to do? I decided to self-publish. If you choose to self-publish, you can, but it's going to take love. You see the wooden blocks there? It says L-O-V-E. You must love what you're doing or you're not going to want to do it. I wanted to design a cover. I don't know where my book was. I have to find another one. 1 second. I wanted to find a cover that I liked. And again, this is not the cover that the publisher would have given, but it's, in this case, I'm the publisher, so I did it myself. Let me find here, get out of the screen. Stop screen share, okay? This is a book called Looking Up. It's orange and blue. Do you know why it's orange and blue? I had to study about it. I had to study and find out for myself, if I was going to be a self-publisher, what are the colors in the spectrum? What colors sell the best for different topics? Science fiction has one color. Mysteries have another color. Other professional journals have another color. Leadership, most of them are blue, some shade of blue. So I researched all that and I found it out. Then I went and researched the color wheel, the global color wheel of all the colors in the spectrum. And I found out that it is orange that is recommended to put with blue because of the contrast. That's what the publishers are recommending. Put orange with blue if you're going to have a leadership book. So I read all those things. Randall said that I did many things myself. Everything in my book I did from scratch, beginning to end. Not all of them, but most of them. The small book that's been published in 8 different languages, the publisher's helps. I sent it to the publisher of my own design. They come back with another design. I said, here's what we recommend. I said, can you sell that? They said, yes. I said, go with it. Don't keep my design. If you can sell that, their design, go with it. But in this case, I didn't have a publisher for my book, so I chose to do it in blue and orange. I've got the same book, too far away for me to reach right now, in Russian. And some of you members here on the screen have got this book because I've already given it to you. The idea is that you can figure your own colors for your cover. You can design your own artwork. Today, artwork on the internet is all over the place. It's easy to get artwork. It does take some time to learn where to go and to find out what artwork you can use that's not going to violate any rules. So some people have proprietary rights on artwork. You got to be careful with that. Many pieces of art on the internet you can use for your own stuff. Like if I'm giving a briefing here, I can use it. But if you're going to publish it, even self-publishing, you got to pay rights, pay royalties. There's many that you don't need. If you look, you can find out. The ones I made are my own design. I don't have to pay anybody for them. So I designed the cover, picked the colors, picked the size. I picked the shape of my book. You can do that. What shape does the book have to be? You saw my stack of books that I showed you earlier. It can be any shape. I chose a square, 5-inch by 5-inch square. I just felt very comfortable. People tell me when they hold it in their hand, it has a waxy coating on it. Feels comfortable with a waxy coating. They say, I like this size. Okay. I listen to my customers. My customers say they like the surface, they like the size, they like the color. Do it again. Something just a little bit different, but basically the same. Listen to your customers. This is what your publisher is going to do. Your publisher is going to go out and listen to the customers, and they see thousands of customers and they listen to them and they say, okay, I'm a small publisher. Maybe I'm in Saint Petersburg, or maybe I'm in Ekaterinburg, a little bit smaller city than Saint Petersburg. I'm in Ekaterinburg. I got 8 employees in my publishing company. Michael, I want to publish your book. Okay, I'll talk to them. Find out what's their idea. How are they going to market it? How are they going to sell it? Do they need to change it? Are they going to edit it again for me? Don't know. If you go to a large publisher, here in Russia, I use Alpina. Alpina is one of the largest publishers in Russia, and Alpina has published 2 of my books. They changed the cover. They changed the inside. They didn't change the words or the structure, but they sure changed the layout. They changed the color. They changed the pictures, but they got a big distribution and they're a large company. So you let them do their thing. But if you're self-publishing, you got to do everything yourself. Now, while I'm on self-publishing, before I finish up here in a minute, I want to talk about editing, because many, many people ask me, Michael, who edits your books? I do. Now, I know that I'm not perfect. I usually edit my books somewhere between 5 to 7 times. That means each time I start with the cover and go front cover to back cover for grammar, for layout, for spelling, for grammatical sentencing to make it sound good, to make it have impact. Some sentences should be more passive. Some sentences should be stronger. I look for all those types of things, and there's many software packages you can buy that'll help you with those as you're editing, okay? But I normally do it 5 times, 7 times, something like that. After I have gone through it 5 to 7 times, I print out on my own anywhere from 3 to as many. The most I've ever done was 17 copies. Myself, print them out. Then I send those to friends and relatives and colleagues, people who know me, people who have worked with me. Some good friends that I know are a pain in the butt, but they're very honest. Okay, that's the guy I want. Send them a copy of the book. Let them go through. Always, always, it comes back with many, many recommendations for spelling, typos, layout, grammar. People are going to recommend, if they're your good friends and they want to help you, they'll do that. And you have to accept that. Doesn't mean you got to make all the changes, but you have to accept the criticism. You have to accept their ideas for changes. And then you decide which ones you want to use and which ones you don't want to use. The worst thing I think that you can do is give it to your spouse to read, unless you just give it to them to read for fun. I mean, if they're interested in saying, dear, I'd like to read your book, fine, give it to them. Don't ask them for feedback. They're not going to embarrass you. They're probably not going to tell you the hard facts. Probably not going to tell you why your book is not going to sell. Now, when we talk about selling, 4 of my books are on Amazon. 2 of them are with Alpina. I cannot put them on both. I cannot have them on Amazon and have them in Alpina. It's not allowed. Alpina doesn't allow it and Amazon doesn't allow it. So you have to pick and choose where you want to market your books. 2 books out with a large publisher. The rest of the book's my self-publishing. I haven't tried a small local. I've talked to some, but I've not found one I like. So you're going to have to think about how you want to get the book out. Let me give you some rude information. I call it rude because it's not nice. If you think that you're going to write a book and sell 1 million copies and make $1 million, you are absolutely fooling yourself. If you think that 0.009 is a small number, it goes down to 0.00005 zeros before a 4 of people who make more than $1,000 on their books. They just don't sell. You might print out 500. Here in Russia, usually I print out 300 at a time. And you know what? They don't sell very well. So I give them away. I give them away as a loss leader. And if you're in business and you want to sell other companies on other things, other services, you can write a book about your services and give it away free to potential customers, people who you think might be interested. And this is another way of giving things out. You're not going to get rich selling these. I'm going to have to sell an awful lot of these in order to make good money. It's not going to happen unless I'm very, very lucky. So I give most of these away and I get leads. People say, Mike, I really like your book. I'm interested in that lean technology you were talking about. I think I can use that. Great, let's start a conversation, maybe get some business from them. So in the English vocabulary, we call this a lost leader. Lost leader. Your grocery stores do that. They say, we're going to have a special sale on ketchup and it's all the way in the back of the store. So in order for you to get that ketchup, you have to walk by everything else in the store in order to get the ketchup. And when you get that, then you got to walk by everything coming back up. The ketchup is very, very cheap, but they're hoping you're going to see something else you want. So for me, many times I give these away to people as a lost leader to try and entice them, to try and interest them in using my services. Because I do training, I do consulting, I do a variety of different things, and I try to get them interested. But writing a book is not a way to get rich. Can it be a second or third revenue stream? For sure. You can do that. With Alpina, I make just under $1,000 a year, approximately, on 2 books. 2 books they sell for a whole year, and I make barely $1,000 on each. You can't live on that. That's too little. But it is some income. I feel good about writing the books. I love it. I'm going to keep on writing. I have a passion for writing. I have a passion for the subject. So I'm going to keep on doing it, and I'm not going to stop. And as I grow older, I know some of you like Hanny and a few other folks like myself are getting a little bit older. It's something that we can do in our older age as long as we're healthy and we can see. If you're healthy and you can see, you can write a book. You can do it as you grow older. You've got more free time. So that's just some basic ideas about writing a book. Now what I'd like to do, I see there's some things in the chat, but I don't know if they're to me or not. Somebody had to leave, I'm looking to see if there's any questions. I don't see any right now. Okay, so what I'd like to do, on the bottom of your screen, on the bottom of the screen you have there, you have a thing that says reactions. And if you press the reaction button, you're going to see that there's a hand, a thumb, and a couple of smiley faces. If you will click on the hand, your hand will pop up and I will answer questions. What questions do you have about writing, publishing, or getting materials or anything? What do you have for questions? Anybody have a question tonight? No questions. Oh, come on. It's hard for me to believe that 15 people don't have a question. 14 people don't have a question. Yes, Antonina, go ahead.
Writing book with modern technology is different from old-fashioned way we were doing in the past. Okay, what do you think about online publishing?
I think online publishing is a good way to get out there. My opinion, Antonina, may be different than some others. If you tell me you want to be a publisher, I'm going to say, go for it. I'm not going to say, be a publisher the old-fashioned way, be a publisher the new way, be a publisher online, be a self-publisher. I don't care. If you have the passion to write and you have the passion that you want to get your message out, do it any way you can. And I think online today is just as good as the old-fashioned way. Now, for myself, many of my friends tell me they like the feel of my book. It feels like a wax cover. They like that feel of the book. Henny's smiling up there. Henny probably feels the same way. He likes to have the book in his hand. Many people who are a little bit older like that, having it, not electronic. I have on my phone, Antonina, I probably got, I don't know, 25, 35 electronic books on my phone. Because sometimes I'm in a bus, I'm in a taxi, I'm somewhere and I want to read. Don't have books with me. I open it up and I start reading book. I love to read. So I get lots of ideas. And if I get an idea, I usually take a note and write just a note, a word or two to myself that I can use for myself when I go back and I have to write. But I recommend if you want to be a publisher, you take any opportunity you can to get out there and be published. Online, self-published, small publisher, large publisher, however, get published. That's what I would recommend. Gabriella, you were next.
There are two motives to publish or to write. You write a book because you are motivated and you want to write this book because you are convinced it's very important and you want to not only your thoughts but also your emotions put into it. Then it is not this important for you to sell it, but you want to bring your motives and your thoughts to other people. The other one is you want to make money with it. So this is when you want to make money, you write some romance and romances and these kinds of, so then you want to sell it and to earn your money. So I think you must know why you want to write a book.
That's absolutely correct. And I recommend that if anybody wants to quit their job, become an author, don't do it. You're going to starve to death. You will not make money. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Have people done it? Sure. What happens if J.R. Rowling's book had been number 2 on that pile instead of on top of the pile? You think she'd be rich today? No. Because somebody that already been edited, the people in that company already went through and said, here's a stack of manuscripts that we're not going to need sitting over here. The guy just happened to pick the one on the top. It was already rejected, would have been for the 13th time. You're not going to make a lot of money on books unless you have a way around that. Now, something that I have just done recently is that I've contacted Brian Tracy in California. He's a very well-known author with over 100 books on leadership and other items. And I have worked with him, and now he's going to give me an endorsement on my next book. The book that I'm working on right now is halfway done. He's going to give me an endorsement on it. That's going to help me. Maybe it'll sell, maybe it won't. I have no idea. But it's something noteworthy that I want to move up and progress and see if I can't get other people who are recognizable to give me endorsements. That does help you sell a book if you get a recognizable endorsement. If you went to Merkel, you write a book and you give it to Merkel and she says, oh, Antonina, Gabrielle, I love your book. Let me give you an endorsement. If Merkel gave you an endorsement on your book, you think it would sell? Yeah, probably. Maybe not millions, but it would sell more than it would without it because of her recognition of what you've done. So if you can get an endorsement from a high-level person, please, please do that. I get most of my endorsements from my past customers because they love the service that I gave them. They love the millions of dollars they saved with me. So they give me a very positive feedback on my book and write endorsement on them. You will need endorsements. You can say things about yourself, but it's not as powerful as when somebody else says it about you. So any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Victor, you got your hand up.
Yes, Michael. You obviously look like a professional and successful writer in my eyes. But I have a question to you. What weaknesses would you tell us do you have as a writer, and how do you fight with them?
Witnesses?
Weaknesses.
Weaknesses.
Yes.
Weaknesses.
Yes.
Weaknesses. Yes. Okay. I got the 2 or 3. One of them is cognac. I find that if I decide to write in the evening and I'm sitting there with cognac instead of coffee or tea, which I have earlier in the day, I'm only good for about a half an hour, and then my writing goes downhill quickly. Not so good. So if I'm going to write, I stay away from alcohol. I don't have any alcohol if I'm going to write. That's one of my weaknesses. Another one is that I spread myself too thin. You're busy at work. Your work takes a lot of time. If you're working and you're away from home and you got to spend a lot of time going to and from and at work, that's most of your day. So let's say you work 8 hours and you transit 1 hour each way to get there. That's 10 hours out of your day, 10 out of 24 that are there. You're going to have to sleep 6 hours. Now you're down at maybe 8 hours. Well, you got to figure out, can I get in there, not disturbed by my family, have a peaceful place. These are all things that are going to slow you down. Procrastination is probably the biggest weakness that writers have. They procrastinate. It's Tuesday. I'm supposed to be down at 10 o'clock. I'm supposed to sit down and write. It's too, oh man, you know, the sun is shining. It's blue skies. We got our first warm day of the spring. I need to get outside. I can do this tomorrow. I can do this tomorrow. And procrastination. Procrastination kills so many different occupations, not only writers, but many other people also. Procrastination is probably the biggest one. I could ask you, I don't want an answer from you, Victor, but I could ask you, why did you stop writing? You don't need to answer me. But I'm just saying, for many people, they stop because of procrastination. I told you, there are hundreds of millions of books in closets that have been started but not finished because people procrastinated. And after a while, if you skip it one time, okay. But you skip it 2, 3, 4 times and you don't do your likelihood of continuing is going almost zero for you to continue because you skipped it several times. Don't do that. If you're going to make up your mind that, yes, I'm going to write a book, or I don't know if you're married or not, Victor. If you're married, make sure your wife agrees with you that you're going to work on your book. Okay. I would also tell my children, if you got children that are old enough, that are teenagers or older, I would tell them, I'm going to write on my book. Let them know that you are making this commitment and you need their help. Please don't disturb me or bother me when I'm writing. If it's an emergency, for sure. But if it's not an emergency, give me some space, give me some time. But procrastination, just putting it off because whatever. Oh man, I could go fishing today. I love fishing, but I got to write the book. I'm writing a book about fishing, but I want to go actually fish, you know? So procrastination, you put off writing. That's a big problem. Alcohol is a problem. Smoking is a problem. If you're a continuous smoker, you're smoking, you're doing some typing or whatever, you're going to have to stop to smoke. And then you go back and you're going to write again. These small interruption type things can be a problem. That's like with me, meal. I love to eat. I almost never, ever miss a meal. So I plan my writing between meals. After I finish lunch, after I finish breakfast, something of that nature, so that I'm not hungry to go back and eat more. I avoid the obstacles. I try to get those opportunities to procrastinate to go away so I don't have them. That's what I do. Okay, those are weaknesses. Okay. Rami, you got your hand up?
Yes. Michael, I remember when you gave me your book and you signed it. It was like you giving me a part of your soul. And I have it at home and everything. I really want to go through this path eventually. What would you do differently if you were to go back and do it all over again?
I keep a journal. I didn't do that for most of my life until I was probably 55 or so before I started keeping a journal. You and I had this conversation, Romney. By the way, for the rest of you folks, Romney is in Toastmasters and gives speeches also. So I gave him a similar information about his Toastmastering. How many stories do you have in your life? If you're 40 or 50 or older, you've got 100 stories. If you're 25 or 30, you got 30 or 40 stories of things that happened in your life. Make notes on those things. That will help you to write your book. Let's say, Rami, you decide that it's 2021 and starting in 2023, I'm going to start writing my book in January 2023, 2 years from now. So for the next 2 years, I would keep a journal. And whenever these memories start popping in your head, just a little one, write down a few words. Remember that tall blonde in that black dress with red high heels? Write that down. She was attracted to you. That caught your eye. If you're going to be writing a mystery novel or something of that nature, that's a description of a person that would be appealing to people. That's information. That's research. So start gathering data, start using a journal, start writing down all these different things you've seen, you know? You were sitting in the back of a car and all of a sudden, maybe a taxi, you got rear-ended. How much trouble was it that day to find another car, or how much problem did it cause you by being rear-ended? Well, write a few notes to yourself. Maybe you're going to be writing some novels sometime and you can put some information about that in there. Technology, you know, many of us here turn to Walter or Randall for technology. Well, they're going through technology right now, changing. Write down some notes about what is changing now, because a year from now, you're going to say, when did that technology change? I don't remember. Oh, it was January 2021. That's when the technology changed. Got it in your journal. I would start taking notes, Rami. Start putting in journal. And you're still a young man. You got a long way to go. And I think if you start gathering data, you can use them for your Toastmaster stories you give, Toastmaster speeches, excuse me, you give, and for writing stories. You could use both of them. Okay. Any other questions? Antonina's got another one. Antonina.
No, it's just comment to Rami's. You know what I found is perhaps personal experience, perhaps would be useful. It's diary, everyday diary when you are young, okay? To make it routine, because this way you would be diary by hand.
That's what I just told him about the journal. That's what I was talking about.
Yes, it's exactly, because what happened, I have family members who are publishing now their autobiographies, and it's difficult for them to come back, you know.
Right.
Personally, I'm keeping diary now for 20 years. It just happened. And it's surprisingly what stories you can find 15 years ago that are completely out of blue. But don't rely on technology, like to keep it in computer on a flash sticks, you know, because this is very vulnerable. It can be eaten by virus or disappear. Maybe Michael have seen such situations when you write something and you didn't save it properly or something, and it just goes. It's very frustrating. Yeah. So writing diary, keep it in mind as option. Sorry, Michael.
No. That's a good idea. I'm glad you bring that up, because I didn't use the word diary. I said journal, but absolutely diaries, especially if I know a fellow right now who's 75, and in 2020, he sat down with a writer, not himself, and they did this man's autobiography. He wasn't sure he could write it himself, but he sat down with a writer and he did his autobiography, 75 years old. And he said, Michael, trying to remember those old things. And he did what I have done. I used to be an amateur photographer for about 40 years. And as I traveled around the world, I took pictures of everything around the world. And I have boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures. If I want to do an autobiography, that's the first place I'm going to go, because those boxes are full of pictures. When you look at that old picture, it's going to bring back a memory, and then you can start writing about it. So pictures is another way. So again, there's a lot of little things you can do to bring out. I think your personal experience writing about it is the best, because your passion is going to come out. Your passion is going to be felt. Just like people here, again, and it's not just me. These are people all over the world, and we got several Toastmasters here. We are taught as Toastmasters, if you want to give a good speech, give it with passion and make it about yourself, a life experience. And if you do that, it's going to come out a much better speech. Same way with writing. You want to write something? When my friend in Australia, David, wanted to write his autobiography, he knew what he wanted to do. He just wasn't confident in his own writing skills. So he hired a writer to come in and listen to him, and they wrote the book together. So I can't wait to get my hands on the book. He said it should be out by April. I'm waiting to see it. He's 75 and he decided to do it now. So any other questions? Don't see any more raised hands. I hope you got something out of this evening. I don't know if you did or not. I hope you got something out of this evening. I wanted to give you some of the hard facts about writing, not the nice juicy stuff where all this glamour and all this recognition and all this. Discipline. If you don't have discipline, you're not going to be able to write a book. It's a #1 ingredient. Published authors have discipline. Thank you. Anthony, you had one question before I close. Go ahead.
No, it's just I'm very pleased and thank you so much, Michael, because one of acquaintance of mine, professional journalist, who has special sense of humor and who is Russian background as well, is stuck now with situation of quarantine pretty much and frustrated. So I suggested him, because I'm admirer of his style, to put together all pieces he published in the previous years. And yesterday I got a letter from him that he is going to do it now.
Okay, good.
So I would be very happy to share with him your video today as encouragement, you know. So thank you so much. And it's also very dear to my heart. Thank you very much.
Antonina, you're never too young and never too old. I just read an article earlier today about a 13-year-old boy in New York City, 13 years old. He has written 90,000 words in a book that he's writing, 90,000. That's about 600 pages in a regular sized book. If you talk about a 3x5 book, that's about 600 pages, and he's only 13 years old. So people who are 75, people who are 13 are writing. It just takes discipline. It takes time, and you have to be committed. And as the little wooden block said in my presentation, it takes love. You have to love what you're doing. And if you love what you're doing, it makes it a whole lot easier to do. Okay? So I'm finished. Thank you all very, very much. I'm going to change my hats and go back to Rotary. Let me get out of here. Rotary, 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 Rotary. Where are you? Rotary, 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 Rotary. Okay. I'm back. All right. Just a brief word about our projects. It has not changed since last week, but we are pursuing more people. The group that contacted me and said they wanted to have a global grant, we're answering them back and telling them that we are too small. We don't want to have a global grant, but we do appreciate their supporting the project for the Child's Rehabilitation Center. They're very interested in it. They want to do it. So therefore, they're going to contribute, but we have to figure out how. We got to negotiate that. Of the 2 clubs that said they would give us money and help also, additional new clubs help, tomorrow night, morning their time in Houston, Texas. Tomorrow night at 8:30 my time, I will be online in Houston, Texas, talking to a Rotary Club there that has already agreed that they do want to make a donation to our Children's Rehabilitation Center. They want to make a donation. They have not told me how much, so I'll be surprised tomorrow when I hear. But they wanted me to come and give a presentation about the CRC and what they're doing and how I felt. And the reason being is that the lady who's the president, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, I don't remember, she came to our club meeting just like you're here tonight. She heard me talking about it and got enthused. And then Randall turned around the next day and sent out a message to all these people about the child we were sponsoring. And boom, it clicked and she said, great. She took it to her club and they agreed. So if we're talking about it, if you are talking about it to people, they will be interested and we can provide them with more information. I'd be happy to go to their meetings or show up at any time, day or night in their meeting online and give a presentation about leadership, presentation about anything that they would like, and specifically about this CRC, this Children's Rehabilitation Center. That is our club project, and that is what we want to grow. So if they want to hear more, I'll make time to go to their meeting and tell them about it. I'll be happy to do that. So that's the only real progress we've got right now on our project. So I don't have much more to say about that. Does anybody else have a comment on that? Randall or anybody? Nobody? Okay, so we are progressing. We're just not all the way there yet. One child down, working on the next one. So as soon as we get the funds for that, we'll go to the next one. Meeting coming up on 27 January. Randall, who do we have again on 27 January? Will you repeat it, please? Or do you remember?
Yes, it's Paul Goncharov.
Okay. and he's going to be our speaker on the 27th. How about on the 3rd of February?
That's Dmitry Orlov.
Okay, and do we have anyone scheduled yet for 10?
And we have Reinhard Kuhn.
Very good. I didn't have 10 on my calendar. I will add it in there. So we have 3. On the 17th of February, we probably will not have an open meeting. We'll probably have a closed meeting for working purposes. Those of you who are in Rotary know that periodically you need to have a closed meeting to go through all the political things and formalities that a club has to go through. So we have several small business issues we need to take care of officially. So the 17th of February, by the way, I think that's the 17th February or 17 March is St. Patrick's Day. Which is it? 17 February? St. Patrick's Day. Anybody know? I think it's 17 February, I think. No? Is it March? 17 March. Okay. Nancy's nodding her head. Okay, 17 March. So on 17 February, we're going to have a closed meeting, so we won't be meeting officially that way. If we change the schedule, we will let all of you know about it. We will send that notice out. But right now, we plan on having a closed meeting on the 17th. So we got 3 speakers in a row and then a closed meeting. That's not bad. And we probably will draw some good sized crowds as we normally do. We've been drawing between 30 and 40 people. Let me see what I got here. Should have one more slide. Nope, not that one. That one. Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. You asked some questions, you participated. We're not a big club and we offer as much as we can, and we will continue to offer as much as we can. And with your help from all of you, because you have participated, you have been part of the club in the past, you've made our life easier as to what we're trying to do. So we try to start on time, we try to stop on time, finish on time, and we want to make sure that everybody is comfortable. So I don't know if you have a glass or a cup in your hand or close by. Do you have a cup or glass? If you have one, please grab one. I can wait a minute. Hold on, we got a couple more people. Yeah, okay. I like to make a toast. This toast is to David, as in David and Goliath. We are a very, very small group, but already from the information and emails that Randall and I get, people think we're Goliath. They're asking us to do things much bigger than we ever thought we could do. I'm not sure we can do that, but our reputation and your help, your support has helping us to build the reputation of this club, and we will help as many people as we can. So here's to the Davids in the world, the small people who are doing big things. Hear, hear. Thank you all very, very much. I'm going to ring the bell to finish my meeting. If I can find my ringer. And then we will stay around for about another 8 or 9 minutes until 8:45 if anybody wants to chat or have any comments. Our meeting is officially closed. Thank you.